What's the best part about being the Fedora project leader?
Oh gosh, there's lots of amazing things. I work with people who are amazingly smart and absolutely unfearful of telling me exactly what they think, good or bad. I don't think I've ever seen so much honesty in a, place of employment that I've ever been in my life. Usually people are don't want to tell you the truth. Not that people are coming and telling me bad things nonstop, but people aren't afraid to hide things from you, even, as a community leader. People are always happy to raise the flag if you've missed something. Certainly, I don't think I'm missing too much, but, you can't be everywhere at once. You can try your best, and you'll still miss, the one thing that you should have seen. So it's a great community with people who are incredibly passionate, even when you see things like, trauma about secure boot or trauma about release names or whatever, you still see people who care absolutely one way or the other. There's never a there's not a lot of trolling. I mean, it's actual caring and believing in the project. So for me, that's inspiring and incredible that I get to work with all of them. So
Great. Talked about the positive. What are the challenges? What keeps you up at night about this job, if anything?
What keeps me up at night? A lot of things, I guess. Most obviously it's a worldwide community, so that in itself, can keep you up at night, certainly. Sure. Just from the perspective of, there being FUDCons in APAC and FUDCons in we have one coming up in Paris later this year. Just even from typical logistics perspectives, working with some of those people. We have a lot of QA people in China. It's another group of people where it's definitely a round the clock job. As far as things that are giving me heartburn at night rather than actual work to do. The occasional, like when the secure boot thing came up, and just even from my perspective, it was like oh gosh, like I really need to hurry up and absorb, a lot of these things. For me, not being, a lot of the other previous Fedora project leaders came from very technical backgrounds. So, for me, sometimes I don't know, this could be on or off the record. It's certainly a learning curve for me. Sure. from the technical perspective, sometimes
Mr.
to be
Fields
like,
was a documentation guy, so
yeah.
He was no more or less than probably you are.
No, Fields did and he did security stuff for the DoD, as I recall, before he came to Red Hat.
With Fedora was
yes, absolutely. But I think his
kernel hacker.
My days as sysadmin, despite still catching up on the sleep from that was I was working on AIX, and that was like in the year 2000. So
not the wonderful glory that is AIX 9 running on Power.
I did have a power box. I had my own little power box because I worked at Motorola, and we manufactured them there. But yeah, I mean, it's, sometimes learning, I usually come out in the wash. I think I actually do okay, but, sometimes I'm like, am I going to be up to par? Am I actually going to be able to meet the, the standards of some of the awesome people who've held this job before me, that I respect greatly, and I don't want to, essentially screw up the, the legacy that they left behind when they moved on to better things. I think I'm doing okay at that, so.
Good.
At not screwing up, to be specific. Other things that keep me up at night. There's other random things here and there. Budget. We have typically most of the budget. Fedora has an actual public-facing budget that is used by ambassadors. That is literally in the community. Like Red Hat just says, here is this chunk of change. You guys figure out how to deal with it. We trust you to do well with it. And in years past, probably up until 2 or 3 years ago, it was North America and EMEA did, the majority of money spending. And now we have these burgeoning, like when 500 people show up to a FUDCon in Pune or in Kuala Lumpur, which is what happened in both of those events, versus 200 people at a FUDCon in North America, we kind of say, there's all of these people over here. Yeah. There's not, when EMEA started coming into its own, Max Spivak, who's, the FPL, and went over to EMEA to basically build those relationships over there. He was there, so he was able to, talk with them face to face, help them out with getting a little structure. And we have, you know, little pockets all over the world now in Latin America and EMEA that are in APAC that are, you know, we need to have a lot of interaction with them, just sort of getting them up to speed, because they're a bunch of very enthusiastic people. They're like, we want to have a Fedora activity day. And Fedora activity days have typically been, you're going to do a specific activity, right? We're going to hack on a thing and not necessarily have a day-long user exposition. They're doing really great with them, but, you know, sometimes it's like, did you guys ask for budget? You know, are you, you know, going through the proper channels? And, you know, for me, I look at it and I'm saying, ooh, you know, we need to really start looking at the budget, you know, more closely, because, you know, a while ago we never spent all the money. Now I'm looking at it going, we could spend all the money and we could go and ask for more, but, you know,
always
we need to.
The last question I've got, and I know that was supposed to be the last question, but, you know, since you were talking about money, you know, I've asked Matthew Zulik and I asked Jim Whitehurst whenever I get on the phone with them whether or not he's ever going to start charging for Fedora just like the Red Hat Linux days, because I was a happy user. I'd pay $50 every couple of years, and that was fine. From your perspective, and I know you're going to say, I always ask, is that something that you would like to see, like or should it always be free, as in beer? And nobody needs to spend a dime.
I would personally like to see it be free as in beer. You know, okay. I would be open in the future if we ever got like a, you know, a nonprofit, you know, a legitimate nonprofit, like, you know, where we could take in money, because we can't take in money right now. Like, I would love to, you know, see, you know, if you wanted to donate to Fedora and we could redistribute that money to, you know, wherever it needed to go, that, you know, that kind of thing would be useful.
Yeah, you should be able
when we
to.
were at Southeast Linux Fest, we did a food drive along with Beefy Miracle, and we took in, you know, probably $200 and took it right over to the food bank and handed it to them along with a crap ton of food. I mean, literally a giant barrel of food of people who said, you know, I'll give you a can of food for, you know, a Beefy Miracle sticker. Everybody should be able to have a operating system that frees them from the woes of freedom-hating Flash and so on and so forth. So.